This will be a series of mindfulness practices which you can use to punctuate your day with and to help you to deepen your ability to be mindful in your day-to-day life. The tracks will be, firstly, a 1-minute practice, like a comma if you like, to punctuate your day with, say between one activity and another. Perhaps you've just finished a meeting and you're about to drive off somewhere else and you maybe have a minute in the car. Maybe before you eat your lunch, maybe before you go into an interview. So this is like a short comma. Then there'll be a 5-minute practice which will be more extended. Perhaps you can bookend your day with that. Maybe before you go to work in the morning, maybe before dinner at night. And so this 5-minute practice will be a good starting point for people wanting to introduce mindfulness into your day-to-day life. Then there'll be a 10-minute practice. Maybe after a period of time of practicing the 5-minute exercise, you're ready to extend the practice a little. So again, to bookend the day with maybe a 10-minute practice. The 5 and the 10-minute practices will be focusing mainly on body awareness and then a period of time on the breathing. Then there'll be 2 20-minute practices on the last 2 tracks. One will be a more extended form of the body scan, so that's body awareness, moving the attention through the body. And the final one being more of a focus on the breathing. So those 20-minute practices are when you feel confident that you're able to extend from the 10-minute practice. And they're really a more extended and a good opportunity to deepen your mindfulness practice in your day-to-day life. Of course, it's helpful in the fullness of time not to be restricted to having to use the CD. To be self-sufficient in your mindfulness practice is an important objective. But at least for a period of time, the CD might be, if you like trainer wheels, while we're getting to learn the practice and be independent with it. As a general rule, it's good to practice mindfulness sitting up. Sometimes, however, the body may be very uncomfortable. It may have been a very tiring day. For some reason, you might need to lie down. Just being aware, of course, if you do lie down, the chances of going to sleep, which is a problem at any time in meditation or mindfulness practice, can occur. So if you're lying down, then the chances of going to sleep are greater. So as a general rule, it's useful to practice sitting up. And the posture, if sitting, the body balanced, the spine straight, the arms resting comfortably on the lap, and with the eyes gently closed. And the spine's the most important element of the posture. If lying down, then again the body symmetrical, the spine straight, a low pillow perhaps underneath the head, the arms resting at the side, and it's preferably the legs uncrossed. And perhaps there are a few more points just to make before moving into the mindfulness practices themselves. The first thing is that we practice mindfulness sitting in the chair, or if we do practice lying down, but we practice mindfulness practices not so that we can have just by itself a nice time out in a busy and hectic day or life, but so that we can cultivate mindfulness in the chair or lying down, so that we can take it into our life. That is, the mindfulness practices themselves are, if you like, a springboard for being able to live more mindfully, to be more present to what we're doing, to be more in touch, to experience our life in a much more conscious way. So mindfulness is really a training for living mindfully. And another point that's worthy of making is that mindfulness practices themselves are not necessarily relaxation practices, although relaxation may be a common side effect of the practice. It's primarily a practice in paying attention, and relaxation would be a secondary effect, which often occurs. But it doesn't always occur, and it's helpful not to judge one's practice if one's dealing with a certain level of tension, or one's not feeling always very relaxed, or the mind might be sometimes very busy, or sometimes the feelings might be a little bit brooding or dark, or feeling a bit tense or anxious. If these thoughts, feelings, experiences arise during the practice, then we're just practicing noticing them with a non-judgmental attitude, learning not to be reactive to them, not having to judge them or push them away or even to think that they shouldn't be there. But if they arise, just welcoming the opportunity to just notice them and not have to necessarily accentuate them by reacting to them and judging them. And a third point perhaps worth making is that it's helpful to come to the practice not with any particular expectation it's meant to be this way or that way. So it's good to, in a sense, take any pressure off ourselves to try and get it right, or make whatever we think is meant to happen. But rather just understand that each practice will be its own individual time, and what will unfold. And so in a sense, not to put any pressure of expectations. Sometimes that leads to a lot of pressure being placed on the practice, a lot of expectation, and then oftentimes a lot of judgment and criticism when we don't experience what it is that we think that we're meant to experience. So just sitting down in a sense with an openness to the experience that we're going to have and letting it unfold. Because the practice that we have, even if we're practicing under difficult circumstances, the practice that we do in the chair will help us to deal with those difficult circumstances much better and much more consciously in our day-to-day life. So in a sense, it's not wrong if that arises. It's actually a very helpful opportunity to learn to deal with those sorts of things we find uncomfortable in a much better way. So now we'll move into the first of the mindfulness practices, the little 1 minute comma.